Hi everyone, welcome to our channel, Rebecca Stew and the crew. I'm Rebecca and today we have some new Dollar Tree summer craft ideas for y'all. And we'll go over our supplies for our first project today. We have a few options. You could either use these poster stickers or you could use the Crafter Square paint markers or the Dollar Tree vinyl. I'm going to use the vinyl, so I'll also be needing some transfer tape. I'm using the clear shelf liner. This is the picture that I'm using for the background. So you can print this out if you like, if you're going to use the paint markers. Also, we'll need the cutting machine if you have one, and you choose to use the vinyl, the napkins, a wood round, and some Mod Podge with a sponge brush. We're also going to need a sanding sponge and some fabric strips for the bow. This is optional, of course. You could just use regular ribbon. And then I'm going to use some baker's twine to tie my ribbon off. The twine we are going to use for the hanger, and we'll need a few different paint brushes, the black paint marker, and some black or white paint. We're also going to need some beads and parchment paper, as well as an iron. We'll need some hot glue and scissors. So let's get crafty. So the options I'm going to use is with the vinyl. So first we're going to actually use these napkins to cover the bottom portion of our sign. The first thing I'm going to do is open up our napkin and we're going to cut it in half. Now this is just a little bit bigger than 12 inches, so it's going to hang off the sides of our wood round just a little bit. But all we're going to do is pull apart the 2-ply piece of napkin so we just have that front portion left with the coloring on it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start attaching this to our wood round. So you want to make sure you have the sign nice and straight as well as the napkin. And I just fold the one piece over and just work in halves. I'm now going to take some Mod Podge and a paintbrush, and we're going to completely cover 1/4 of the wood circle in Mod Podge. We're going to do a nice thin coat, make sure we get the edges really well, and then open up our napkin and start smoothing out the wrinkles so we get the first section done. We just adjust and lightly smooth with our hand so we get the wrinkles out. It's okay if you have a few wrinkles. We're going to go over this with a light iron, which will help get all of the wrinkles out while the Mod Podge is still wet. We're just going to work on half of this to start, smooth out our wrinkles, and once it's smoothed out, we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Mod Podge first and then smooth it out with our iron and parchment paper. I meant to cut out a little notch at the top so it looks like someone took a bite out of the watermelon. I forgot to do that part, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm kind of doing it after the fact. My glue had already dried, so I just used the sanding block to get the rest of the napkin off, and we'll cover that up with some paint. So if you want the notch cut out, make sure you do that first. Then I just went around the edges and made sure I have a nice edge along our frame, our sign here. And while that's drying, we're just going to take some chalk paint and start painting the top portion of our sign. So because we're using chalk paint, we're only going to need one coat. It's a lot thicker than like the acrylic paint that Dollar Tree sells. So it makes it really nice. You're able to cover your wood portions with just one coat of paint. And we're going to let this whole thing dry for at least an hour because we're going to be using some adhesive vinyl and some iron-on vinyl. And I want to make sure everything is really well dried so that when we use the vinyl, it adheres really nicely. We won't have any lifting or peeling. So if you're using the vinyl, make sure you're going to let this whole thing dry for at least an hour, if not more than that. We're in Texas and it's like 90 out, so definitely an hour did it for me. So now we're going to take the Dollar Tree vinyl and cut that out on our mat. I like to tape it down and then I burnish it really well to make sure it's stuck to the back. I recommend using your light grip mat for the permanent vinyl as well as the paper setting to cut it out. Now, if you're using the iron-on vinyl, which I like a lot, make sure you place it face down on your mat. And then I always just use the glitter iron-on HTV setting for the cutting method here. And it seems to cut it out really well. I really like the iron-on vinyl from Dollar Tree. I think it works really well for $1.25. You get a 12 by 12 sheet. And I really like it a lot. So you're going to use your paint marker as well to trace along that top portion of the napkin. I didn't get that on video. My camera died and I didn't realize it. So we're just ironing on the vinyl now with our parchment paper and a hot iron. just a few seconds, and it's enough to get the vinyl to stick to the wood now that it's completely dry. And then we did our crossbars here with the green vinyl, and then our words that say Sweet Summer. We are layering this. Now this is just the permanent vinyl from Dollar Tree that I'm layering on top of the HTV vinyl. I was having a little bit of trouble getting it off of the transfer sheet, but once I got it off, it was stuck down really well. We also printed out a few of these like watermelon seeds that we're using along the trim. And these are all in that first picture that I showed you guys that I came up with to use in this craft today. And then we took some pink and natural wood color beads, and we're just going to string that on the hanger that we took off of the sign before we started our craft. So I did pink and white, or the natural wood, and then I added a few pink and green to the end to fill in the rest of the holder. And then you'll take the ends and you'll pop them through the front towards the back. And then our hanger is attached, and now all we're going to do is decorate the sides a little bit. So we're going to take about 4.5-inch pieces of ribbon, and we're going to layer them. The first thing I do is lay down some baker's twine, and I just keep creating this X pattern. So I did the green, I did the light pink rickrack. These are all from Dollar Tree. Then I use the red. Again, making your X pattern. So we're going to put all the smallest ribbon in the front. And then we'll just use a piece of the gingham and one piece of the pink ribbon. And we'll just tie this off in the middle. You want to pull it nice and slow. If you go too fast, you'll mess all your ribbon up. So you just pull it tight and then finish off our knot, and then we'll wrap the baker's twine towards the front and tie it off in another knot. And then once I have it knotted off in the front and tied nice and tight, I'm going to add a pink bead to the center. There's our knot, and then we'll just take a pink bead that we used for the hanger. We'll take another one of those, and we're just going to slide the baker's twine through the bead, both pieces. And then once you have the bead threaded, all you're going to do is take the ends of the baker's twine and pull each of them in opposite directions to wrap it back towards the back, pulling the bead nice and tight. Flip it over, and then go ahead and tie your baker's twine one more time in a knot to make sure that you have the bead pulled down nice and tight to the front of the bow. It just is a fun little accent, and it ties into the hanger that we put at the top. And then leave your ends of the baker's twine. You can help use those to attach it to your sign. So we're going to make 2 of these, one for each side of the hanger. So I first start with a little bit of hot glue, and then I use the baker's twine to tie the bow to the hanger. And that's what it looks like all finished. Super easy, lots of fun, and I just love how much this looks like something you can hang up for summertime. So now the supplies for our second project. We're using one of these lanterns by the Shore Living items, some masking tape, paint brushes, the fluorescent acrylic paint. They do sell it at the Dollar Tree in a couple different colors. We'll need some white and black paint as well, and then one of these magnifying 3X sheets. You can find those over in the office supplies. We'll need some scissors. And let's get crafty. So the first thing we're going to do is cover this whole entire lantern in a really thin layer of the acrylic paint from Dollar Tree in white. Because these lanterns have some laser cut marks on them, there's a few spots that are pretty dark or have some burnt wood look to it. And using the white paint, just a really thin layer, helps to hide that. So we're going to let that dry before we apply our tape. And then we're just using the width of the tape to make our rows. We're going to paint every other row, kind of like the shade. We're going to make it like a rainbow, basically. But we want to blend the center colors to the top and bottom, which you'll see here in just a second, which is why we taped it off so we just get even sections. And I made sure that I had enough room for all the colors that I wanted to use. So we do pink and yellow first, and then we skip the green and go right to blue. And then we'll do the really dark purple at the bottom. And I chose to do the very bottom of the lantern as well, and just the top edge of the lantern, but I do not paint the inside. So then we can remove the tape that we have taped off between each of our rows. And this paint's going to be a tad bit wet still, so just be careful so you don't bump it. And now we're going to start mixing our other colors. So I do have orange, but I mixed the pink and yellow together that was already on the tray to create this really pretty orange color. And as you paint the sections in the middle, you want to very lightly overlap the pink and the yellow, and that will give it just a small variation of color as it fades from the pink to the orange and from the orange to the yellow. So each color that you do as you move down, you want to very lightly, about the width of your brush, just overlap each section. So we're doing the same thing here with the green. We're very lightly going over the yellow, and then we get down towards the blue. We'll overlap about the width of the brush over the blue, and that gives us like a blue-green color between the two darker colors. And we just keep working this way all the way down. Again, overlap the yellow and the blue with the green. And these are all of our base colors. We're going to go back in still and paint the palm trees, the birds, and some of the greenery, and some lines in the water, so we don't lose all of our details. I mix just a little bit of the green with the blue to get that variation in color. It was starting to dry a little bit, so if it does that and you're having trouble getting it to blend, you could always mix the colors a little bit to get the desired color that you need. So now we're using that bright neon purple, which didn't want to show up that great, so I was putting it with a little bit of darker purple to help get it to show up. And then between the blue and the purple, we got this really pretty indigo. So once that's dry, you just want to go in with some black chalk paint and a detail brush, and then you want to paint in all of the details of the birds. Even though it's a cutout, you can still go over the edge and make it look like a bird. And then, of course, you want to do your palm trees and then the bushes behind them, so it looks like it's sitting in the sand. We'll do our horizon line and a few ripples in the water, and then we'll paint our second tree. And then go around the details for the sun. Now, if you look through this lantern, you can see all of the cut marks through it where the like palm trees are on the opposite side. I didn't really like that. So I had these 3x magnifying sheets on hand that I wanted to use in another craft project. And I figured, you know what, I can go ahead and use these in the lantern. So I just cut them down to size with my scissors. Once I got them the right size, I just rolled them up and stick them down into the lantern. And what I love about this is the kind of design of the magnifying glass. It gives the appearance of the sun setting over the water, because it gets this really pretty glow behind that plastic. And because you've got that piece of plastic all the way up, it covers all of the lines for each of the cut work for each side, if that makes sense. So when you look through it, you can only see that glow of the sun. Because of that sheet that's inside. So I love the effect that it gives. It looks really pretty, and it's just fascinating how it makes it look like the sun is glowing through that little hole there in the front where the sun cutout is at. I just love this one. So now the supplies for our third project. We're using a lot of the same items. We're going to use this large wood cutout. Option 1, we're going to use some vinyl in black the clear transfer paper, and a weeding tool and the Cricut. If you don't have that, you could always use the painter's markers or the poster stickers. This is the printout that I made, so you guys can use that for your design. Also, we'll need like a sheet of paper and some of the neon paint colors. Again, we're going to use one of the Dollar Tree Starfish, and you could use the Starburst gem stickers as an option. I'm going to use the palm tree stickers here. I got these on clearance at Walmart, but they also sell them at Hobby Lobby. We'll need some raffia, some twine, hot glue, and scissors. And that's it. So let's get crafty. So the first thing we're going to do is take that plain sheet of paper. It's basically like a thicker cardstock because I didn't want it to get too wet. And we're just going to use our neon color paints, and we're going to do an ombre effect all the way down. You don't want to move too slow. You want the paint to be a little bit wet, so when you overlap your colors, they blend in together. So I went right in with the orange. I didn't even wash the brush. The paints are kind of thin, so I didn't think it was necessary to wash the brush between colors, and I just continued to work in this way, fading the colors down and overlapping since the colors are a little bit wet, and helps us give us those variations in color. So we just finished with the orange, and then I went right into the neon yellow. And as you can see, there's a little bit of orange still on the brush, so it's making a little bit of a different color, but it eventually turns to that neon yellow as I work my way down. But then just go ahead and overlap on that orange so you get that nice ombre look. We're going in with some green. I was getting a little bit too much paint on the paper, so I decided to go ahead and flip it to the other side. And then we go in with the neon green paint, again overlapping a little bit over the yellow. I put the green paint on a little bit thicker just because it was having trouble covering the wood. I didn't put the white paint underneath of the neon paint this time like I did the lantern, but I think it worked out fairly well. So now we're using the light blue, mixing it with a tad bit of green, and then we will end up going a little further down with just the blue. So that first color was the light blue mixed with a little bit of green, and now we'll do just the blue, and then we will mix in the purple. Try to keep the width of your stripes about the same. We want to do about 1.5 inches for each color, 2 inches tops. And then I also made sure that I painted the edge for each color. I just went around the edge of the wood circle to make sure that I got the color on the edges that was like the pink, the yellow, the green. That way it looked nice from the sides as well. And here's the purple. And as you can see, we're overlapping that into the light blue. And that gives us like an indigo look. And then we'll just let this dry. We're going to let this completely dry before we go to the next step, which is sticking on the cutout that I made on my Cricut. Again, it was the printout that I showed in the supply list. You could print that out. You want it to be big enough to fit a 12 by 12 circle, which is the size of the signs from the Dollar Tree. Or you can print it out. You can trace it on with a pencil. You can use a vinyl. You could write it out with the paint markers. You could paint it on. It's really up to you. So we weed all the pieces we don't need out, and then we're going to take that transfer tape and pick up the black vinyl on our transfer tape to make it easier to move all the pieces as a whole onto our sign. So we just lay this down on our sign, making sure to keep it centered. And then again, we'll burnish the pieces down before we remove the transfer tape. And if your sign is not completely dry, this will really mess it up. If you don't have it dry with all that sticky paper that we're lifting off, you will pull all the color off. So make sure you take time to let your sign dry. Here's what it looks like so far. I found these gorgeous stickers for $1. I know they still sell them at Hobby Lobby. I saw them like a week ago. I purchased mine at Walmart on clearance when they were moving around their craft section. I was lucky enough to get these on clearance for $1. So we're going to cut the waves apart, and then we'll put one set of waves on each side of the sign. It's just a sticker, so we'll just go ahead and stick that right to the back. I like that it has the clear backing, so we don't have to worry about pulling all the stickers apart and trying to put them back together. And then once we have the waves on, we'll go ahead and add the palm trees. So it came with 2 palm trees. And we'll stick one to each side of the sign. And then if you don't have all of these stickers, I just wanted to show you guys there's these other gemstone stickers from Dollar Tree that you could actually use to build the waves, and some different round gemstone stickers in a bunch of different colors like the amber and green, where you could actually build a palm tree and some waves with them if you'd like. So there's definitely options you could do for the gemstones if you choose to use them in your design. So now we've got our gemstones on. The Dollar Tree has these lovely starfish, so we're going to glue one of those to the bottom of our sign, and a raffia bow, very simple bow. I just rolled it into a loop and tied it off in the middle to make this bow, and trimmed off any pieces that were too long. And that is our sign. I just returned the twine hanger, and that's it. Coordinates lovely with our lantern, and I love how it goes well with our sweet treat watermelon. These were so much fun to make for you guys. I hope you enjoy learning how to make them with me. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And here are some other videos from our channel you might also enjoy. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time.